record yet. And there we go. Now it's recording. Okay. It's good to have a couple practice ones. If you're watching, probably everybody that's going to get this, you're going to see that that's starting now. But I thought it was starting a few minutes ago, so I had a little practice start. It's kind of like, I don't know if you ever watched The Office, everybody individually listening to this, because there was an episode where Pam, the secretary, in that episode, before she put calls through to Michael, she would give him a couple tries. You know, she'd be like, "You're through," and then he would do his little intro thing, and then it would and then he wouldn't really have the phone call yet. And I feel like that's what this was. And maybe that's because I got a little trophy here. This is a Super Dad trophy. It's not a boss trophy. I need some decoration, so I put that there. And but yeah, now we're started. My computer's not plugged in this time. Let's see where we're at. 38%. Wow. No apps using significant energy though, so that's good. 30. It's already down to 37. Well, you know that this is its own thing. Last week, the phone's at 100. If you're wondering how the phone's doing, I don't know why this is plugged in here. That must not be plugged in all the way over there. I don't know. I mean, I do know that has to be it. That's the only possible way. Unless this port is bad, then it's just like, well, what are we even doing here? You know, man, I feel like I'll wait a little bit before I feel like it's at 37 still at 37%. If I had a graphics guy, we would have it. Oh, wow. You know, you could think about what you're going to talk about on the podcast. You can like script it. You can or you could just wait and see what technical difficulties you have and expound on them. Right? I am Michael Palisak. This is the podcast. I just got my kid to sleep. I'm saying this here just in case we decide to cut out the early part, because that might not be a good opening. And then if I go, I didn't plug it in again, so I'm gonna have to talk about that. 36. I can't look at that. I just can't. Okay, I'm gonna keep talking. No, I'll see how low it gets. 36%. I mean, if it lasts 7 hours, the battery should last for 7 hours. 7 divided by 36%. So half of 7. I'm just gonna. So 3.5 hours is half of 7. We all know that. Now we do. If you didn't, that's okay. You know, 3.5 is half of 7. Did I say that right? Half of 7 is 3.5. But what's 37 is not half. Half of 3.5 is more than an hour. There you go. Whew. It's just weird when it goes down to 36, you know, so fast. It's just like, well, if it does that every second, you know. My son does that. The one who's asleep. I just got my kid to sleep. My kid is a son. His name is Jack. He's a Jackson, but I call him Jack because it rhymes with my last name. And I think that as a comedian, rhyming is a really good way to make people feel like you're a genius. I don't want anybody to think that I'm a genius. That's not the thing. But like when you're doing a joke and you don't have a punchline, especially early on in your career, you can rely on a little rhyme for people to be surprised and laugh. And with a name, it's still, no one ever like hears my son's name and then laughs. But it is fun to say Jack Palisak. And I feel like that's all I was thinking of, really. His mom came up with Jackson, and I was like, that is such a good name. And then in my head, I was like, I'm calling him Jack. I didn't say that out loud. Have you ever talked to a woman who's about to give birth in the next month or two? You say yes to whatever legally you can abide by. And his name is Jackson. But I mean, it's shortening names is a whole thing. You shorten names. This is the United States of America, right? Or is it USA? Or is it, it's not A. Where are you from? I'm from A. That would be a little pretentious to say I'm from the country A. We can say America. People don't like. I heard they don't like that. I heard other countries and other parts of the Americas don't like when we say we're from America. But it's like, I don't know. I don't want to lose my other America listeners right now, because how do I say? Me gusta tu. I like you. That might have lost them already. But I just forgot. I still have more Better Call Saul to watch. Are you serious? I hope it's still on Netflix. They really should make it more published when they take something off of there. Not that I'm so happy with my Netflix experience, especially with the stand-ups that they've chosen in the past. And my friend Chad Daniels is having a special coming out July 16th. I think he's a friend. I don't know. If he heard this and he heard me say that he was my friend, I think he wouldn't be like, why'd he say that? You know? And I don't talk to him all the time I don't talk to anybody. I talk to you guys once a week. Is that good? Are we friend? Is that bad if I talk to you more than friend? Anyways, Chad Daniels special is dropping, I believe, the 16th, which is now. Stop listening to this and go watch the special. Because I can 100% guarantee it is. Chad is very funny, but he's also he's a little, I don't know. He's less. Not that I'm filtered, but you could bring your aunt, your grandma. You could bring a child. People have brought babies to my show. Babies are probably easier to go to any show because they're just like asleep. A lady brought a baby to a show recently, and in Colorado, in Ridgeway. I'll get back to what I was just saying. That's what I say every time, Michael. That's what you say every time, Michael. I hope I'm speaking loud enough. It is late. Jack got to sleep a little late. And then I also, I do the podcast after that because I don't think it would be fair to him to be like, all right, it's time to go to bed. Go lay in your bed and pretend to fall asleep so I can have a method experience so I can perform for my audience that I just got my kid to sleep. I had to put him to sleep first. It doesn't sound good like that. I put my kid to sleep. I just picture a chokehold or drugs. And both of those are bad options. No one should ever put their kids to sleep. You put your kids to bed. That's what you do. One little word, America. Oh, yeah. So I heard people in South America and Central America, I don't know, I heard this a long time ago. Maybe they're over it. Maybe they have bigger issues. Maybe they're their own person. They're above it now. But I heard they didn't really like it that everyone called the United States of America, because they're like, we're in America too. But you don't have America in your country's name. So, yeah, we're not calling ourselves Columbia, America. You know, like if you had the forethought, Uruguay, that's one of them, to put America in your title, then you would have a legitimate beef, as it were. I wish I knew more Spanish right now so I could say. I just realized that my iPhone has a hidden Mickey on it. I went to Disneyland with a very nice family that they go to Disneyland a lot, and they brought up finding. I don't really know how to find hidden Mickey. Hidden Mickey is like where you see like two circles and then the circle of the face. We'll get back. Anyways, I don't think people in the Americas, and this is pretty pretentious, I guess, privilege of me to say that they shouldn't complain about it, but I don't think you have a leg to stand on. If America is in our name and we shorten it to America, then I think we can. And if it was in your name and you shorten it to America, then we would have an issue. And if we were all in second grade, one of us would have to go by America and the other one would have to go by Mary or Emmer. Can you imagine if we had to call our country Emmer? Isn't it weird that we're called America because of Amerigo Vespucci? I think that's not fact checked, but that's what I've heard. His name sounds like America. That's what I remember from my social studies things. But he wasn't Christopher Columbus, clearly, because his name is Columbus. Columbus is a pretty American name for being not from America at the time, right? Like Amerigo Vespucci, you're like, oh, Italiano. Is that? I know with Spanish, to speak Spanish, the accent comes with the way you say the words correctly. Like if you say ir, you don't say which is ir is a verb. It's ir. It's to I am. I think it's I am. Okay, this isn't learning languages, Michael. Don't feel bad about. This is the segment of the show where we build ourselves up again after failing to communicate. I really want to learn other languages. I think I'll do that. Spanish especially because, it's so prevalent in the Americas. So Amerigo Vespucci sounds Italian. Christopher Columbus, what are you? You sound like you're from Indiana. There's a Columbus, Indiana. Maybe that's where I got that. But Amerigo Vespucci didn't discover it. He must have got his name in at the right time. And it's almost like who picked it? Because he had to be a part. He's not one of the revolution guys, None of those guys have their name on the country. I mean, Washington is Washington, D.C., and there's Jefferson, but there's no one named the whole country after one person. So they must have been like, how did they pick Amerigo to be like, we're the United States? They must have been referring to it as America, as a piece of land. And then when they decided to be a country, they're like, what are we? We're a bunch of states, but we're together. We're together on this forever, right? Forever. Sandlot. We're together, so we're united. We're the United States. But where are we, guys? We're on land. No, United States of land doesn't work. We're in the oceans, Atlantic, between the Pacific. Okay, hold on. United States of America. Ooh, boom. Then during the Olympics, which definitely happened, but we don't qualify for it because we're a new country. This is how the founding fathers decided to name our country. I didn't really introduce it because I just kind of went with it. I've never heard how it really happened. I feel like as a country, maybe you don't even really get to name yourself, especially if other countries are kind of upset. You're a country now. Like I'm sure in England, when we declared ourselves a country and finally got to do that, they weren't like, what would you like to be called now? I'm sure they called us many other things. It's weird how we have names for stuff like that. I was just thinking of another. So I think this isn't even connect. A lot of times in the podcast, I'll go somewhere and then you can see how I got there. You can't even see it this time because I've thought about before how and the only relation to the United States, Great Britain thing, England thing, what's to do? I think Great Britain is like all the countries in the little part of the ocean that they conquered together. Is that a root conquered? I don't know. Owned, had, but I don't know. The Great England, and the United States had a contentious relationship. A couple hundred years, more than 100 years, 200. 1776 to 19, that's 200 bicentennial. So over 200, almost 250 years. Wow. Whew. I guess that's why we're friends now. Time heals all wounds. That's a long time, 250. I had some Hamilton pop up on my YouTube music, and it feels like when I watched that musical that it doesn't seem that long ago, but maybe that's because the music is more current. Because, it's supposed to be. I don't think a Hamilton musical with old music might have had the same effect that Hamilton with the new style that basically Lin-Manuel Miranda kind of created. It was sort of like rap musical. I'm sure there's someone that knows more about that than me. But that's not the podcast. The podcast isn't, this is the expert thing that I'm expert on. Listen to me teach you about it. This is a podcast. Man, if I knew what this was, maybe everything would be different. If I really knew what this was. I've gotten one comment. I think the people that wouldn't like it kind of went away. But one person was like, because I titled a video for the podcast nap hacks and something else. And they listened and watched the whole thing. And they were like, how come they're upset at how much it went to other places too? And it's just like, well, how much did you pay for this, sir? And thank you for your time. You come to my stand-up comedy show, I know in a stand-up comedy show that I'm supposed to talk and then people are supposed to laugh. That's what we're down to 28%, by the way, on the laptop. That seems like a lot. That seems like with no apps using significant energy, that seems like it's going. Anyway, I know in my stand-up shows what to do. And then when you do a podcast, I feel like basically the one rule is you kind of have to talk. I mean, I guess you could just be there. But I don't know. People don't really need to hear you for that. I think I'm just above that. I think that's kind of what my podcast. It's a little bit more than saying nothing. It's like if you want something to listen to, and just sort of like not accomplish anything. And I think that's important because not accomplishing things is how you get relaxed and enjoy life and then accomplish things later, I guess. But anyway, United States of America and England did not have a good time over 250 years ago, which if you watch Hamilton, you'd be like, it doesn't seem that long. It is a very long time. 250 years. That's like 10, 25-year-old lives. You didn't need to know. Like that I will admit, if there's someone watching on YouTube, which is where all the haters are. They're not all hate. It just seems like out of all the social medias, like those are the ones where people just watch and they can. There used to be a thumbs down on YouTube. Did we talk about that before? I don't know if there's. I haven't seen it in a while. But when Jack was a baby, there was a thumbs down on the YouTube thing, which seems crazy now. But back then they're like, well, we need people to be able to vote. My air conditioning's out, by the way. I'm not sweating because of the contentious environment in the room right now. I'm sweating because my air conditioning, I don't even know if it's out. I got a Nest. I didn't get one. My apartment building was like, you have to have this now. This is something. And now I think the air conditioning works, but the power kind of gets cut to the Nest. And it has a thing that it says, like, here's what you do. You go to this website, it tells you how to fix it. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's broken. I can fix it. I'll feel very good about fixing it. Don't worry. We're going to get to everything. And then it tells me to, like, check first you got to turn the power off, which I get scared to do because there's breakers, and some of the breakers or whatever, the fuse box, I don't know you go this way and then some of them go that way. And you're like, well, is this on or is that on? And I did it what I thought I would do, and I went over there, and then it didn't work still. But then I had to test the little wires and see if the wires were in there, which, like, I have had jobs. One job where I had to, like, not mess with wires. My employer wasn't like, hey, go mess with those wires over there. No, they were like, this is how you wire this thing. PLC cards, I believe. Shout out to my early 20s college summer jobs. So I can kind of know how to, like, strip a wire or put it in there. But I just don't, I don't feel super confident that the power was not going to be out. But it was out, and I didn't get shocked or anything, but I didn't fix it. It didn't work. And then what takes you through all these steps, and it's, like, really supportive. The whole app, the Nest app is like, here's what you do. You do this. What about this? It's like a little choose your own adventure. Like, if this is the case, do this. And then you get to that, and it's like, you should probably call somebody. That's what it says. And I'm like, well, I could have done that earlier. And been in the same place than I am right now. And that's all I have. So, United States, this would have been a good 4th of July, because that's what it's all about, right? 4th of July, 4th. Isn't it weird? I don't think it's weird. I think it's interesting that we declared our independence in, like, maybe the hottest day of the summer. I don't know if it was still hot back then because, I heard that it's hotter now, but I also heard it's hotter then too. Like, if you look at the weather, I don't have the rundown of the weather from 1776, but it'd be interesting if it was just so hot that they were like, we're done now. This is done. Like, there's that Spike Lee movie, Do the Right Thing, and he talked like it's so hot that day, and that leads to, like, all the problems. And I wonder if it was so, I don't know. I wasn't around for all the trouble and all the hard times. So I'm very happy being in the United States of America and not a colony of England. But also wonder, was it an overreaction? Is that something the pundits are talking about? Like, really, should we really have declared our independence? Or maybe we could have just hung out for a little while. I get emails from guys who have businesses. There's a TikTok guy. This sounds really legit. No, apparently he, like, has businesses and he's whatever. And I think I signed up for an email somehow, and he sent this inspiring email, and he was like, he had a business deal that the hook was he lost like $100,000, millions of dollars, he said, because he had a business partner that wanted to renegotiate the business deal because whatever the deal was, obviously probably wasn't going to be fair to that guy. And the guy that was sending me email was like, well, I I thought it. You don't renegotiate. I want the money. Give me the money. And then the relationship went away, and then all of the work went away from that company and that customer. And he was just like, don't ever do that. Always save the relationship. And I wonder if at any point in the recent history, if we were like, we probably should have saved that relationship with England. But I think it's rebuilt itself for sure. And we have baseball now, and I don't think there's any baseball in England, and we have like so much. It probably sounds weird to people to like actually consider not regretting, but like, I feel like you learn. This is a new cup that I just discovered. If you're not watching the video, you don't have to. I'll explain everything that's going on. I'm drinking right now. I hope the sound is good. I'm not shouting because it's 1:45 a.m. and I just got my kid. My kid's been asleep for a little while, but I fell asleep too. You probably can't tell because it was a rejuvenating sleep. I woke up to like I had a nightmare, a bad dream. I don't even want to talk about. It was just like a scary one. You know how like you have dreams and they're fine. The dreams are fine. And then you have one just has like a scary tone about it, and it's not even that scary. It's just like the tone feels scary. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I better be afraid now. Right? I've never had a call to action from a bad dream. I've never had a call to action from any dream, really. For as much as dreams have been talked about in like changing how people act in the world, taking a drink of water from my new cup. I've never had a dream. Maybe this was one of them, and I'm just like, well, I'm not into that. I feel like that's what I'm telling the universe or whatever. Is like, if you want to talk to me about how to live my life, do it in another way, Go to my mom, have her get wound up about something and have her call me, and then I'll listen to that or whatever. But I don't need dreams. Dreams, no good. Like, just normal ways. Normal, if there's a message that anyone wants to get across, just have it come in a normal, I'll stub my toe, see a news article, think of something else, like whatever it is. My dad said that one time because I said earlier in the podcast that we're going to get back to everything. Now I have some idea where we've been, but I feel like I left stuff really unresolved for the most part. Anyway, this seems interesting. My dad, growing up, like I'm Catholic. We were raised Catholic. And in the Catholic faith, there have definitely been visions and people being communicated through dreams, like the whole beginning where like Jesus is going to be born and the dad with Mary, Joseph, he's like, oh, you're pregnant. That's not going to work for me, and he gets like a dream and they're like, no, it's cool. She's cool. And you're going to like this, this dad thing. And I'm probably sweating on camera too. My air conditioning's out because of the Nest. That's just in case I start the podcast right there. My dad said we were all getting together. It was like a family thing, and we were talking. Somehow it came up like symbols and signs and messages. He's like, I'm good. I don't need to get them like that. I will just, guide me in any other way. And I feel similarly. So anyways, America and England, I wonder if there was ever any, I'm sure there was some regret. There had to be some breakup regret, but maybe not. Maybe it was such a dictator, king, fascist thing that they're like, this is so much better. I do think about that sometimes because I've had people in my life that I've given myself distance from, and then I'll have other problems that come up. And one way to feel really good about the other problems that come up is like, can you imagine if this person was here too? Ooh, wow. Okay. This is like a trip to the beach. This is like a roller coaster ride. Handling this myself. So that's something to think about. If you ever, hopefully you never have anybody in your life that you have to distance yourself from because they make your life the worst it could be at that moment. But if you ever do, and you do make the decision to distance yourself from the person that makes your life the worst it could possibly be, then if you have problems later on that maybe are not really related to that person at all, but just like they're just kind of in the same genre of other problems that could have been connected to that person, you can just imagine what if that person was here. It's like the reverse of imagining everyone in your life has died. Like there's that story, right? We've all seen that meme or heard the article. What are you talking about? No, there's the story about this thing on someone's desk. That's what it is in my brain. It was a thing on someone's desk. I don't know where it was, but as a motivational thing. Which, by the way, if you go to work every day and you hang a motivational thing on your desk, you got to rotate that out, right? You can't just keep it, because otherwise you're going to see it every day and it's going to lose its, who's with me? I've seen people have stuff on their desk. I have stuff near my desk forever. I have all of my last hour of I'm in little yellow memo cards or Post-it notes is what I'm trying to say. I don't know why I call them stick-it notes. Is that what they're officially called? I think they're called Post-it notes. That's what I'm going with. On my wall, and they're just there. They don't mean anything anymore. Anyway, I was in someone's office during business hours for a legal reason. If you want to know the reason, I don't remember. But this lady had, I think it was a lady, or maybe I'm assuming it's a lady because my mom used to always still has motivational stuff. And let's check on the percentage here. 19%. Well, okay. All right. So this lady had this thing on her desk. It said, like, if you feel sad or distressed, it was written in a more concise manner that was entertaining. But paraphrasing, it said something about, like, when you feel problems or stress, just imagine everybody that you love is gone, and like for 10 seconds, and then realize everything you love about life is over and everybody you love is gone, and then realize that they're there and they're alive, and then you'll feel like this grateful rush, which I appreciate that idea. I just don't like to imagine that everybody's dead, because what if they did die and then you're like, well, I was just thinking about that happening because it inspires me, because you're not dead. Oh, man. So it's the opposite of that. Like, if you have someone in your life that's horrible and you had to get away from them because it's the worst ever, and then you have another problem that comes up and it's kind of hard to do by yourself, you can just be like, imagine if that person was there. Woo. Woo-wee. Woo. Woo. That's how I say that. Woo. Woo. That's how I don't know how I would spell it. It's more like a W-H-E-W. Because my son says phew a lot, which is, it's really funny to me because it sounds like he's just saying few, like an amount of things, few, but he's really just like phew. And it's so, because he's heard it. I think his mom says it a lot, in a big way. And so he says it a lot. And it's just so entertaining to watch he's not 3, but a 5-year-old, like a young child, be like, phew, like, I almost forgot that big meeting, phew. But it's about, like almost getting hit by a shell in Mario Kart, phew, which he is not. He is not good at Mario Kart, which, man, there's so much stuff to get back to. But, like, here's the best part about that, because when you play with a kid who's 3, 4, you have to make a decision. When you have a child and you're the dad or the mom or whatever, you're the person in their life that they spend a lot of time with, and you play with them because there's maybe not other siblings, or even if they have siblings, sometimes as a parent, you just get stuck with them. Not stuck. You get blessed with their presence all the time that you ever have is blessed with their presence, and you're so lucky to have that. So smile, because everybody's paying attention to everything you say and your mood. No, it's great. But, like, you play a lot of games. That's what we've done. We played a lot of games, and you kind of have to make a decision every time you play whether you're going to let them win or not. And my decision is usually to let them win, especially if it's like before bedtime, because I've found that if he wants to play a game before bedtime, and I'm sure we talked about it, if I let him win, then it's over, and we go to bed, and I won. Then I win. He wins the battle. I win the sleep time, the war. I'm taking another drink of water. We got to get back to this new water bottle situation soon. So that's a decision I've made, and I like seeing him happy about winning. It's gotten to the point where if we're playing something and he's not, he's like, let me win, Dad. And it doesn't even seem like, maybe if you're a child expert, I'm sure a lot of child experts are tuning in to the comedian who shoots the podcast from his bathroom while his kids goes to sleep in the middle of the night. Maybe you have a different opinion on that, whether it is debilitating or whatever. But when he says it, it doesn't seem like he's like, I need to win to be happy. I don't want to face any trauma or trouble ever in my life, even though that's the thing we all probably feel. He says it as if, like, I don't know, like he just expects it to be that way. Like, let me win. Like, he doesn't need the adventure of knowing whether he's not going to win. That's what's adorable, cute, dangerous, strange about 4 or 5-year-olds. They don't need the adventure of knowing whether they're going to win or lose. They just love that they have your time because I think they instinctively know how much you value it away from them. And so they're just so happy that they have your time and attention because they love you and you love them. And then so life is so good that they know that they have so they just want to win and they don't need to think that they might lose. Like for me to play a game, like I don't want to if I know it's fixed, unless I have money on it, which I don't gamble. So it's like, and if you're playing, you can't. Sometimes I go down roads and I'm just like, that's not even, what's the point of that? But someone thought I was gambling recently. And it was just like funny to me because this is a person who wanted money for something. And I was like, oh, I just don't have extra money, which I don't know how to handle that. Like when a friend's like, can I borrow money that I'm never going to pay back? Like maybe friends do pay it back sometimes, but I just feel like I've been really blessed, lucky, whatever, to be able to do what I do for a living. And sometimes I feel like, well, other people don't get to do what they love because I have this. Look at my life, this is a dream. Look at this. I'm in, a bathroom talking to a phone that's almost full and a computer that's about to die. This is obviously for free. Living the dream. No, I feel very lucky. I love what I do, and this is just a fun thing. But and I say this all as in the jest of a podcast. But I don't know. I know you should say no to stuff like that, and I recommend saying no because they'll ask again. That's what I didn't realize early on in my life is if someone asks you for money and it's like not your. I don't even know at this level who would ask that I'd be like, oh, I should give it to. Like my parents don't ask, but like I owe them everything anyway, so I would give them whatever if I had it. So if it's not them or my child who needs it, then it's like, no, I don't. And I realized recently, I think if it ever happened again, if anyone ever asked me for money, I think if you're richer, like publicly richer, you have more money. For a while on the internet, if you Googled my net worth, it was like millions of dollars, which is like crazy because it's never like I shouldn't even say it, but it is like, it's very funny to think that because that's like a crazy amount of money to me. That's what I love about the amount of money I have is that I get to do what I like and I get to that's my job. But if I had a lot of money from doing what I like, that would just, or even just like a little bit, that'd be crazy to like, if you're a doc. Okay. Here's what I'm trying to say. If you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, an engineer, if you're like a construction worker that's working long hours or whatever, and you make a lot of money, like you put in time and work and effort into this thing that probably wasn't always fun and you probably always didn't want to do. Whatever job it was that you made a lot of money off, maybe you started a business that was really hard and you had to like do all the stuff that you make bridges or something. You figure out how to I took a drink of water there. I took a manufacturer. I don't edit the sound where it's like dead out. So I feel like if you're just listening, you're like, what's this break? It must be done. No, it's not done yet because my computer is at 15%. Okay. 15%. Okay. If you have a lot of money that you earn from work, it feels like, yeah, that's awesome. But also you had to go through that thing. But if I got to do what I liked and also then it would just be like, I would never talk about that ever because I'd just be like, oh, I just won the lottery. Which I think sports is kind of like that. But sports is also really hard. Like if you play sports for fun, like I play sports for fun and I like it. But if you play for a job, like you have to like play all the time and work out. I think sports are really popular job for kids because they see it as a fun way and also it's entertainment. But if you really think about it, the people who get really good at playing basketball or whatever, they go to the gym, they practice a move over and over and over again. That's just like going to the library and reading about, becoming an engineer or science stuff. If you really think about the monotony of it, maybe not. Maybe people love it. I'm sure people do. Anyway, this is the moment of the podcast where I was like, where was I supposed to go? And what was I supposed to cover that I already said I would get back to? Let's see. So my son loves to win, but it's okay. Like if I'm going to win and I know I'm going to win, I don't enjoy, I like the journey. I like not, but he doesn't care. He's like, just let me win, Dad. That's what he'll say. And the great part about Mario Kart is it's so hard. This is the old Wii one. It's so hard. There is no way that I can let him win. I just can't. And not even, I'm not saying that as a joke, like an emotional, like, I'm going to win because I earned this and you're nothing to me. And I'm going to hit you with every shell I got until you go home crying. I don't want him to cry. I live where he lives. No, it's just impossible unless I literally play for him, which I used to do, but that's not fun for either of us. He's bad at Mario Kart because he doesn't know how to drive, which might be clear. But like when you make slight adjustments and he sees a turn, he's just like, and it's just like into the wall. And then he's like, and then it's like into the other wall. And then it's just like, and maybe that's a good metaphor for life because we need one in this podcast, that like when you see a curve up ahead, you don't have to go crazy like a 5-year-old playing Mario Kart for the 100th time, but they're still bad at it. Like you don't have to be like, oh no, you could just be like, all right, just slightly adjust and know that if I don't make the turn and I go at the wall slowly, it's not over, you know? And that's the good part about Mario. You can fall off a cliff in Mario Kart, get way behind, then you give you one of those bullet things, and then you're like, and you're there. But, yeah, I literally can't let him win at Mario Kart. Yeah, he still wants to play it over and over again. And it's on the lowest level, so it's not super challenging for me. I've fallen asleep during Mario Kart before for a short amount of time. For a very short amount of time on Sunday, I played in a baseball game for the first time in a while. I was off finally for a weekend, and I was like, I'm going to get a babysitter. I'm going to go play baseball. I asked Jack if it was okay. He said that I could play. He could be on my team, and I didn't really get into like the whole thing about age and how he's, I don't think he's at our level. But I went and played, and it was really fun, but I was super tired all day. But no regrets at all. I had the most fun. But we were playing Mario Kart when I got home, which that's the nice part about this age is like we'll play with toys or we play Mario Kart. Like, and you don't have to be really awake for all that stuff. You watch TV, you can literally sleep during the TV. But Mario Kart, I was so far ahead as Waluigi, in case you're wondering. Because he told me that's my favorite, which he is. He's good, but Jack doesn't know he's a bad guy. And I think he's a bad guy, right? Waluigi, this is getting really inside Mario Kart now. But there was a point in one of the races, and it was on the lowest level, so I'm not bragging, but where I got to the third lap, and I literally closed my eyes, because I was looking where he was, and he was really far behind, and like basically where you're on a team, and your points wins. That's what we were doing, and we were on the same team, so we both had to do well to win. And low battery, man, that just interrupted that story. We'll keep an eye on that. We're at 10%, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe after the story, we'll plug it in. So I'd like take a look where he's at, and then for some reason, when you're super tired and you just close your eyes, and like, did you know you could die from sleep deprivation? They say it never happens from my research. That's when you know you're really sleep deprived when you're Googling that. But like you can, but they say it never happens because eventually you just instinctively fall asleep. So I close my eyes and just for a second, and then I'm just asleep. My finger's still on the button, and it probably had to be like I probably fell asleep for like 30 seconds. But I definitely woke up, and Waluigi was in a different part of the track, and he was still in first place. That's how good I am at the 50cc Mario Kart Wii. That's what I wanted to get that into at the end. That's what all this was leading to, is that not even a humble brag. I can literally fall asleep and still come in first. And Jack is awake the whole time. And I think maybe that's his problem. If he was asleep, he wouldn't be like, oh no, a turn. Another turn. He doesn't even say that. He's just like, I just see it. He's just like, I'm moving like a real steering wheel, but he's like, and then he'll figure it out. That's what's weird as a parent, because I don't know where the instruction comes in. Like I don't know if there ever can be any real instruction. Like he's gonna learn, or he's gonna stop playing. And as a parent, that's neither are bad. Neither are bad. If you know, it could be the battery. I think it's weird when sockets have the button that turns the outlet on. What's that about, electricians? Why don't they just always work? Why? Maybe that's why my air conditioning's broken. Is because that is broken too. No, I'm sure it's fine. But either he's gonna stop playing because he loses. He literally said that today. He didn't say he would stop playing, but he's like, Dad, you need to do better so we can win. And I didn't tell him that I was in first, but then he realized, and he's like, well, maybe I need to do better. I don't think I'm very good at this. And I used to feel bad when he said he wasn't very good at things, but then I was like, he's not wrong. He is bad at it, just compared to the other computer drivers on the easiest level of this old video game. So he's not good. But he's still playing. And I think that's the thing as a parent, that you don't, like, I really want him to get into like team sports that I played growing up, because I feel like it'll be fun for me to know that he has the same opportunities to enjoy that ride that I had. The ride. I say that like it was like a ride, like it was like, oh, we were so close. No, but just like when you play in high school and the people get excited and they come and it's fun, and you're playing against other really good players, and I don't know, and I did that because I had an older brother and a dad who both, no one pushed me necessarily the whole time, but they all always encouraged me and guided me. And I don't see that happening at a young age. I don't see me getting him out there. I just see him like I just see myself being like, what do you want to do? That is what we do. So yeah, I can't let him win because he's so bad, and that's where it is. But so United States and England. Oh, there was a different story back then where I said that, and this kind of goes back to people that aren't in your life anymore, but where England might not have called us the United States of America, right? Because we might have sent them like a little card, like, thank you for your help. We're not the United States of America. And they're like, well, we're calling you a mean word or whatever. And I thought in my head, because I used to think that it's weird, like if you have a child with someone and you're not married or whatever anymore, or ever were, then they call each other co-parents if you break up. And I just feel like that's a word that was definitely came up with, I don't know. It feels like that it could have come up when you were talking to your lawyer about the way to refer to the other person in court, you know, like, okay, how are we going to refer to that person? And then you come up with all these different words and like, how about co-parent? Can we just do co-parent? And because they were thinking of all the worst things in the world. And I imagine that United States of America, England wasn't like, oh, we're so happy for you and your new startup, you know? Anyway, that's what that was. So I don't remember what the rest of it was, but that Jack says few. Yeah. Close call. What did you have? I had a great weekend. Like I said, we went to Disneyland with a really nice family, and they have a child too, and their child is a few years older than Jack. And it was interesting to see, because I feel like when Jack meets kids in the wild, you know, like at a playground or someplace he's not expecting to, like usually a playground, there's just like this natural, they're playing together or they're not. They just stay away from each other. But like when the parents get together and then the kids are just together, there's kind of an awkward situation that I've noticed sometimes where it's like the kids know that they're supposed to relate to each other in a certain way or in some way, but it might not, they might not know what it is yet. So I feel like Jack was a little like louder around the new people than he usually is. You know, he's loud a lot of the time, but you don't really notice it because there's good reason to be loud. Hold on. We're at 5%. We're going to plug it in. You don't have to hold anything. I'm just going to leave the video for a second, and I'm going to see if I can fix this thing. I'm holding the microphone. Did that fix it? Who am I talking to? I don't know. It did. So it wasn't that the outlet was out. It just wasn't plugged in all the way. No, it didn't. It did. Hold on. Is this exciting? Is this great TV? I don't think so. There we go. Oh, that's that. All right. Okay. Oh, I heard it. That's it. And we're charged. We're charging now. Wow. This is what it is on live television. Live television. Okay. And we're back. Like when Jack is normal loud, I feel like I don't notice it. That we have a thing that we say. This is the recommendation part of the podcast. If you tuned in for parenting tips, guidance, parenting 101, these are all hashtags. This is where it comes in. So everyone's telling your kid to be quiet, right? Like we're on a plane, he's singing, doing countdowns, lots of joyful things. Flight attendant comes over like inside voices. People are always telling kids to do inside voices. Well, I think that instead, maybe not instead, because if a child is screaming somewhere and you don't want them to scream, they shouldn't scream. But maybe in addition to the inside voices warning, I think, especially at ages 3, 4, and 5, it is normal and acceptable. It should be, as something we should put in our culture that I would love to see around the world, is every time you take your kid outside, you just start screaming, outside voices, just to stick it to the people that have made it so children cannot scream inside anymore. Outside. That's not the reason to do it. You should never do anything just to stick it to something, but just to really enjoy. Because then I feel like if you do outside voices at the playground or whatever, and this might sound like it's not super fun because it's like, who cares screaming outside? No, you can really annoy people outside. Like we were at our pool in our apartment building. It's not a big deal. Everybody has pools in where it's really hot. But I live very modestly. But like we were pretty loud, but it was still daylight. And I started to be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be as loud. But I was like, I'm going to wait until someone else does something because, it's daytime. We live here. We pay rent. And we're in a pool. So I think being loud is fine. So there's times where it's really fun to say outside. Just scream outside voices as much as you can outside with your child. And then if you're ever in an inside situation and another grown up who's, hating on the joy of a child, I have a strong, not strong, it's unfair, but it is a bias towards the children. Like I care more about the child than the adult who doesn't like a kid being loud. I know there's places like you shouldn't be loud in like a church, especially during a funeral or a library or stuff like that. But I feel like there are some places like on a plane where if you're singing or if you're doing countdowns, here's what Jack was doing. Every time we started to take off on the runway, he would go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. But on this specific flight, we were just going down the runway just for a little trip. We weren't actually taking off. So he did this probably like 6 or 7 times. And someone literally said, shh. And I was just like, I was frustrated because I wasn't that person and I didn't see it through their eyes. They were probably like, I hate my life or whatever. Maybe they wanted to watch something, but you have headphones, the headphone technology is really good right now. Like I know they're kind of expensive, but if you get some AirPods or some, I'm sure other noise canceling headphones that go in your ear or whatever, you won't hear my son and it won't bother you because you'll hear everything on that screen. And I just think we complain so much about kids crying on a plane that when a kid is joyful, we should appreciate that more. Anyway, but also I relate, because I'm usually annoyed when I'm around Jack and he's annoying, but I'm not saying anything because it's not like, I don't think it's good for him to be told to be quiet all the time just because it bothers me a little bit. Like I realize that if other people feel bothered so much, they want to request that he is quiet. That is something that's good for a human to know, that this person doesn't want you to keep doing that. And they're going to tell you that. And then you kind of get to decide, especially if you're outside or whatever. But as the parent, and I'm around him all the time, if I told him to be quiet every time I was annoyed, it would just be like, it would be a lot. And I don't want to do that to him. He's not annoying at all, but he is, but like not in a way where he's 5, he's 5 and I love the energy behind it. And so that's why when I know that I feel like, oh, I wish he would stop doing that, then I know people who don't love him the way I love him are definitely thinking that and feeling it. And so when they say it, I kind of don't blame them because if they crush my child's spirit and expression, they don't have to live with that, you know? They don't have to. Here's the thing. I know we get kind of serious at the end. I don't want to get serious. But during COVID, my niece and nephew went from being like, what was it, 2 or 3 years basically? I think it was like, the ages of innocence, and they're still young, like, but to the ages of like, they're kids still, for sure. I think 12 and 9, 12 and 8. They're definitely kids, but they went from kids who were like, crazy kids. Like, we're doing whatever's fun right now, to like, they're kind of adult kids. They're kind of like, which I think everybody has to go through that. Like, I'm not a crazy adult, but I really value the brain, the spirit of a child with no inhibitions, other than like making sure the other person's like happy and okay, like sensitive to others, but also I'm going to do whatever's fun right now. And I didn't get to see it progressively go away. It was just like, I saw them before COVID, and then I saw them after COVID, and I was like, oh, they're grown-ups now. They're kids, but they're grown-ups. And that's okay. I think all the kids that age they all know how to behave and talk, and they just do what makes sense, and they're not as silly. Little kids are so silly. And I really like that, the freedom that they have. And so I think that I just think we all should embrace and be excited about that freedom that a child at that age has before the world, school. I think it's usually peers that probably like kind of make them sort of shut down a little bit and not be as fun. And I think that's what I felt like when we were at with the other family. We had a lot of fun and everyone was really nice, but I felt like, oh, he was trying. I felt like he was trying a little bit too hard, and it was loud, but it was all good. He had fun. Everyone was very fun. And like, he reacted to rides that he was fine with before, and I was just like, what are you doing? Maybe I'm just being a dad who wants to ride a ride. I feel like we definitely lost a train of thought or track, but I appreciate everybody tuning in. We're going to wrap up. This has been really fun. I just got my kid to sleep. I'm going home. It's my parents' 50th anniversary, and I was told by a relative that we should plan something. So I'm going to try to do that. It's Saturday, and my parents have already like kind of scheduled a thing for everybody that's coming in, but I feel like there's stuff we can do to make it more special. And I would feel careful about saying stuff like that but I don't think they listen. And I think they would listen, but the technology, I used to send them links, but maybe they're just not meant to like listen to podcasts on their phone or watch them. I think the amount of times that my mom has asked me what a podcast is, like, if she, like, I don't know any other way to explain. Like, it's been, at least 100 times asking me what a podcast. Like, at this point, you're not even listening, or you're not, because I'm using words that she knows, my mom knows, and I'm telling her it's a radio show that you listen to on your phone, and then there's no follow up. So it's like, obviously, I'm not saying something to make sense for her, and I think also she doesn't care. I think that's what it comes down to, like when you have a friend and then they're dating somebody and you meet them and you're like, what do you do for a living? And then they tell you and then you forget, and then you see them again and it comes up again and you don't know, and then you forget. It's like, oh, I'm saying this because I care about you, but I don't really care what you do. And I feel like my mom and dad care about what I do, but I don't know if they have room for like a new thing that I'm doing, or new things in general. Oh yeah, and hidden Mickeys are things all around Disneyland that look like that, and the couple of, they knew where a lot of stuff was, so it's cool. This is more random than normal, but all right. Thank you for listening, and see you next week. The end.